At 2:13 a.m., the freeze frame looks unforgivable, grainy night vision. My hair, wild curtains kicking from the ocean. Breeze me halfway out. A nursery window with a millionaire's baby clutched to my chest, and if you pause at the wrong millisecond, it looks like his tiny hand is slipping. Looks like I'm the monster. People text each other with a caption, "Yeah, that happened." But here's what really happened. Here's what it felt like from inside my skin. My name is Maya Ellis. I make beds tight enough to bounce quarters, and I can fold a fitted sheet like a magician. I took a job in Seabrook Heights because the agency said the house was quiet. The infant was fragile, and the dad didn't want anyone who talked much. Perfect, I told them. I only talk when there's a reason. And the reason back then was simple. My little sister needed tuition, and I needed a paycheck that didn't vanish by Friday. The house is the kind of place where sound has to ask permission. White stone, too much glass. The ocean trying to shush you from the cliffs. The owner is Grant Mercer, and if you read business magazines, you know the type. Logistics king hasn't pushed a grocery cart in a decade, but none of that matters. When you meet him, grief had sanded him down to something paper-thin, one hand always near a whiskey glass, the other hovering near a baby monitor like a man bracing between two cliffs. The baby is Callum. Cal, born too early with lungs that act like they're still negotiating with the world. There's a portable oxygen buddy by the crib and a monitor that blinks like a heartbeat. His mom, Lena, is gone, and the house carries that fact like a piano lid that never fully closes. My job on paper was simple. Keep the air right, the room clean, the feeds on time, and the father from shattering, by making sure the one living sound left in that place, a baby's cry, didn't turn into silence. And for a while I moved like a shadow, cotton swab, on the crib slats, soft steps, at 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. Uniform, crisp hair tied back, voice kept small. Cal liked the sky that was our secret. If he got fussy, I'd hold him near the window and show him the far lighthouse red. Blink the porch light on the path, the moon. When she felt generous, and he'd quiet down like the world loosened its grip on his ribs. You know what I mean? It wasn't a stunt. It was a lullaby with glass. The neighbor, Mrs. Pike, brought soup and suspicion. She caught me by the window once and hissed, "What do you think you're doing with him in that draft?" I said, "He settles when he can see out." She shook her head like I'd set him on a railing. And the next day, 2 little black eyes appeared in the corners. Cameras, one in the hall, one in the nursery. Grant tapped the app like he could will the world safe. I said, "It's your house, sir," and went back to polishing rails and counting breaths. After the cameras, little things got loud. The monitor would beep a single annoyed note at weird hours, the window latch. I know I locked would feel a hair loose and I'd tighten it and tell myself to stop being dramatic. Then came April 7th. I remember the date like you remember the scene of a spin-out. A rough day with a runny nose that wasn't yet a cold. A father pacing, like he forgot where to stand. Me keeping to the middle of the room, where the air felt least heavy. Sometime after 2, I woke to a sound like a spark chewing on plastic. A mean little insect noise, and the smell, that sour, sweet, burning smell you don't forget. I sat up. The hall was quiet. At the nursery door was a paper cut, thin and sharp. When I pushed it open, I saw haze first, not smoke like a movie, just a gray veil moving low. The sleek, white, smart diffuser on the dresser was glowing too bright. The cheap extension strip looked wrong at the prongs, and Cal was fighting for air, the kind of shallow fish-out-of-water breaths that punch your own lungs awake. No alarm yet, no sirens, just silence doing the shouting. And in the space where people like to say, "You should have done A or B," I did the only thing my body believes in. I moved. I scooped him up, tucked his face where he could hear my heartbeat, popped the latch with one hand, and shouldered the window. And the night rolled in like a doctor with clean air. I leaned into it and said the words my grandmother used to press into my ear when fevers scared me. Come on, little oak. Breathe for mama. The phrase slipped out before I could think about whose mama wasn't there to answer. He coughed once, then again, then caught a thin ribbon of air, and I cried and laughed in the same sound. And that's the exact moment Mrs. Pike gasped behind me. Maya, have you lost your mind? Get back! She grabbed the back of my apron and tugged like I was a kite. The curtains flared, my hips braced for one bad heartbeat. His hand slid down my forearm. The camera would freeze that second, like a crime, but my arms were a bridge and he was on it. He caught a deeper breath, and the room shifted from emergency back to night, and I slammed the window, unplugged the diffuser. The cord, ugly and soft, ran cool water over it in the sink, so the stink would stop. Then I sat in the rocker and held him until my fingers tingled. Morning brought coffee I didn't drink, and a blister on my forearm, and Grant walking in like a storm. He forgot how to turn off. He dropped a laptop on the dresser and hit play so hard, the screen bounced. What is this? He said, in a voice that sounded like a door rusted shut. Explain it. Don't call me sir. Right now, he jabbed at the pause on that worst frame. Look at your face. Look at his arm. Do you see it? And I did. I also saw what the lens missed. The smell. The tiny angry sound. The gray haze, so I pointed at the corner near the dresser and told him to roll it back and watch there. And to his credit, he looked, he squinted. He exhaled like air hurt his throat. Then he said, you should have yelled, hit the alarm, followed protocol, and I said, babies don't breathe on, should they breathe on now? We stood there like two people who'd both lost too much and didn't know how to stop losing. Mrs. Pike slipped in and said I smelled it too, like hot plastic, and he swallowed that and rubbed his face until his eyes reddened and said the agency will hear about this, rules were broken. I asked if we were talking rules or breathing. He didn't answer, and by noon I was suspended by dinner, terminated, procedural negligence typed in neat black letters, like the words could cover the burn on my arm. I walked those white stone steps with a carton of my life under my arm, and went to the West Harbor Community Center, where everything is loud and sticky. In the best way, I taught toddlers to stack blocks and tried to make peace with the fact that the most important seconds of my life lived as a clip in other people's phones then. 3 days later, Grant knocked on the glass and stood there like someone had erased him and drawn him back with a dull pencil. He didn't bring the laptop he brought. His empty hands, he said. I listened again. I heard you whisper you called him Little Oak. And his eyes did that flicker. People get when a memory smacks them sideways. Lena used to say that in the hospital when his oxygen dipped. I didn't tell anyone, because saying it out loud felt like losing her again. We stood in that doorway with kids burning pretend pancakes behind me, and something broke open in front of us. I said, I didn't know. He said that's the hard part. You didn't, and you still said it. Then he said the worst part. I punished you for saving him the agency too, and he didn't know how to make that math right. I told him, people see what they want. I've done it too. I saw fancy glass and assumed he was fine. He almost smiled, bent and human. Then he said, come back. Not as staff, I don't even have the right word. Just come back because the house is wrong without you. And I laughed that ugly short laugh and wiped my eyes and said, I'll come back for Cal. He deserves peace, he said. That's all I want. We made our own rules. No more smart diffuser surge protected strip that clicks off if anything goes sideways. Window latched. Unless breathing says otherwise, cameras stay, but we say the quiet parts out loud, he said. I can't promise I won't panic, I said. I can't promise I won't act first. We shook on it like people mapping a place no one else could draw, and the house changed slowly. The way a bruise fades, morning light felt less like a knife and more like a hand. I started humming without apologizing. He carried Cal to the kitchen with that new dad wobble, and I'd tap a burp cloth onto his shoulder like a knighting missus. Pike still brought soup and even squeezed my arm once her version of I was wrong. Late one night, I found Grant with the folder labeled Security. Open his finger hovering over delete. He flinched from the key like it was hot, I asked. Not going to erase it, he said. I don't think I can. That frame broke me and saved me, and I told him to let it live somewhere he didn't visit much, like an attic, like a memory you don't dust. Weeks later, we stood by the same window, weather heavy, Cal asleep, and sighing. Grant's hand on the latch, shoulders tight, he looked at me like a lifeguard. I said, "You can open it," he said. "What if I'm wrong?" I said. "Then we fix it fast." He opened it, and night came in, and he whispered, "Good night, Lena, he's safe." And something unclenched in my chest like a fist finally letting go of a penny. I wish I could tell you the internet made it right that people watched the whole clip with volume up and eyes open. But life doesn't come with bows. It comes with corners that cut. If you move too fast, the freeze frame still travels. Folks add whatever caption makes them feel right about people like me some days. I want to shout, "Watch the smoke, not the window." Other days I close the app and go rock a baby while the ocean talks for me. So tell me, was I reckless or right? Would you have opened the window or hit the alarm? Have you ever been judged by a screenshot that shaved off the truth? Drop your city and the time where you are. Tell me when you trusted your gut over the rules and whether it saved you or burned you. And yeah, subscribe if you want more messy, honest stories where a single second can change a life.